News!
Okay, we'll start with this. On the heels of Delphine Persoon's latest win this past weekend in her native Belgium, it appears that she has suffered an injury, a 2-centimeter tear to her bicep,
And a 3-centimeter tear in the muscles that hold the two parts of the arm together at the elbow.
No surgery at the moment. Rest for 6 weeks, and new scans will be taken per an article from her native Belgium. Sounds like the prognosis.
She's going to be out of commission for a while. At minimum 6 weeks, and then we'll see what happens afterwards.
The relevance of this story is that many are waiting for Delphine Persoon to challenge Alicia Baumgardner, rather the winner of Baumgardner versus Leonarda 2-2.
Delphine Persoon is the mandatory challenger by way of all 4 alphabet organizations, the WBA, the WBC, the IBF, and the WBO.
Many are anticipating a showdown between Delphine and the winner of that fight, which many presume to be Alicia Baumgardner. It being that it has been some years since her initial meeting with Cristina Leonardatu. She's a better fighter now than she was then, more experienced, than Father Time may have allowed for enough slippage that she stands a much better chance of beating Cristina here today than she did in yesteryear.
Yesterday.
In some ways, that applies to Delphine Persoon as well. Delphine Persoon, who broke character this past weekend, where normally she's a come-forward, front-foot heavy, aggressive pressure fighter, she played the boxer with Baumgardner Shin, knowing that Baumgardner Shin is the spitting image of her.
Just 10 years younger.
She knew she couldn't get into a dogfight with Baumgardner Shin at 38 years old, so she didn't try to. She elected to move lateral, use the ring, box, and walk Baumgardner Shin into punches instead of immediately engaging her in the pocket. It was smart of Delphine Persoon, who's not getting any younger, though it's not without its wear and tear.
Goes back to what I always tell you guys. The camps, the fights, even the fights that you win, they stay with you.
Depending on Delphine Persoon's overall recovery time, the prognosis of these bicep tears that she has suffered, that may affect when exactly she gets her crack at the winner of Baumgardner versus Leonardatu.
If Alicia wins, but Delphine Persoon is still unable to fight due to these injuries, what does she do? Who does she fight?
Dan Canobio very recently caught up to my favorite featherweight, Amanda Serrano, and asked her about a potential undisputed versus undisputed showdown between the two, between Alicia and herself.
Yeah, I mean, if it happens, right now, I think for Alicia too, if the fight makes sense, if it's gonna make us, money, if it's gonna make us, right now, I've been in the game for 14 years, 14 long years. Now is when I'm enjoying it because we're getting what we deserve, we're getting respected, and if it makes sense, if it makes dollars, then it makes sense. And yeah, I mean, I've campaigned in so many different weight divisions. I want to stay put at my featherweight. I've worked so hard to be at this weight where I feel my best at. So I mean, it can happen, or like I said, if it makes sense.
Yeah, you want to stay at 126, but you will explore like a 130 fight, 135 if it makes dollars.
Exactly.
It's prize fighting.
If by some chance Delphine Persoon is unable to compete, Alicia won't have to fight her. And if Katie Taylor is preoccupied with a Chantel Cameron rematch, Amanda won't have to fight her. So them fighting each other is viable, though Eddie Hearn, he is going to have to make it worth Amanda's while, because Amanda's not strapped for cash.
And she's settled into featherweight. She doesn't want to have to keep moving up and down and wait for opportunities anymore. Amanda Serrano's career is no longer dictated by what someone else is doing. She's captaining the ship now.
So if Eddie Hearn wants to make a fight between his undisputed champion, Alicia Baumgardner, he's going to have to pay to play.
Amanda Serrano has her own plans for her own career, and they don't include marching to the beat of someone else's drum.
It's the reality of things, and I can't say as I blame her. Amanda Serrano was around long before Matchroom took an interest in growing the sport of women's boxing. Many fights, many hardships, but not very many paydays. And at this point in the juncture, when she's making very good money, she's not taking orders from nobody.
Eddie Hearn would have to make it worth her while if he wants to make a Baumgardner versus Serrano fight. It is still doable,
but it's not going to be cheap. Among Alicia Baumgardner's options, should Delphine Persoon be rendered unable to compete, there's Amanda Serrano, there's a fight like that, there's also a Mayer rematch, Michaela Mayer.
Haven't forgotten about her.
Maybe they can have Michaela Mayer drop down from 135 to 130 for the second fight, or maybe Alicia will move up.
Still a lot of bad blood between those two, and there's still interest in a second fight, in a rematch. God only knows Michaela Mayer needs it. Maybe she'll get it.
If Haney fights Tank, what happens?
It's never happened because now he understands his skill, he understands his level, Fazer understands his level, and now Now I think he go up in the 140 and still
gonna get killed.
No. He going 140 and still fighting, just regular boxer.
So Lomachenko himself says that he scored his fight with Devin Haney 8-4 in his own favor after watching the replay. Honestly, that's how I had it the night of the fight. That's how Shakur Stevenson says he had it. That's how Oscar De La Hoya says he had it.
Not to beat a dead horse, but
All this talk about guys going back and rescoring the fight, those are just guys that are going back to give Devin Haney more rounds. They're looking to give him more consideration than they initially gave him. That's all that
this
is.
is a waste of time because how you saw it the night of the fight with a fresh set of eyes, that's what matters the most.
And I saw it 8-4, the same as Lomachenko. Upon reviewing the fight, Lomachenko said in a recent interview that he believed he won 8 rounds to Haney's 4. Lomachenko said, however, that he could see 7-5 in his favor. He cited ESPN commentator and analyst Max Kellerman's own scorecard during the broadcast as the kind he believes is appropriate.
Max Kellerman scored the bout 115 to 113 in favor of Vasyl Lomachenko.
Look, I saw on the replay this fight. My score was 8-4, Lomachenko told ES News. My score doesn't count, but the real score, it's close to 7-5. It's the same score as Max Kellerman, but my scores have different rounds. I believe he gives first, second rounds to Haney, but on my scorecard, second round was mine, so this is a little bit different. It is what it is. Nevertheless, Lomachenko has been buoyed by the widespread encouragement he has received in the wake of his controversial loss to Haney, especially from those whose opinions he respects. We have a lot of different opinions, Lomachenko said. I am happy because a lot of people who understand boxing, who love boxing, who respect boxing, they give me this fight. They give me this win.
You won the fight 8-4 in my eyes.
It's a lot of warm words, Lomachenko said. They support me. Hey Loma, keep going, keep going. It's very, very happy to hear that. I wanted to say big thank you to your support.
My feelings haven't changed. It's still a robbery.
And that doesn't mean that I hate Devin Haney or I'm over the moon over Vasyl Lomachenko. I simply saw what I saw and I saw it 8-4. Anything other than that to me seems like a robbery.
Anybody that doesn't agree, you're the one in the minority.
Not me. The vast majority of people on Sunday morning saw the fight for Vasyl Lomachenko, and the vast majority of people agree that guy got robbed. People in boxing, people outside of boxing. Keith Thurman very recently did an interview with Marcos Villegas, and Keith Thurman, he's calling for a rematch.
The same as Shakur Stevenson, the same as Antonio Tarver.
The same as a lot of people. And I don't say that because I'm expecting Vasyl Lomachenko to get it. I'm just highlighting that a lot of people,
They need more convincing.
even if you don't, you're in the minority. You don't speak to the rest of the boxing community at large. You only represent a small part of it.
Very small.
Devin Haney supporters claim that anybody scoring that fight for Vasyl Lomachenko is simply butthurt and salty and sour and all these different things, but I'd wager
You have more of a love affair with Devin than they have with Vasyl Lomachenko. They simply saw a robbery. That's what they're calling it because that's what it is.
I see through your agendas, your tribalism.
I see through you.
Over 2 weeks later, my mind hasn't changed. That was a robbery. It wasn't the first and it won't be the last, but that's what it was.
Can't convince me of otherwise, try as you might.
I'm just letting y'all know I am done with boxing.
You thought they robbed
It's being robbed, man. Watch out your wallet, your watch, and everything, okay?
They will never get another motherfucking dime out of me. This is a travesty.
I got that Lomar got robbed, man.
I am done with boxing.
I got robbed, bro. Big time. Big time.
Hey, man, Devin Haney is a very talented boxer. I have nothing against that young man. Much respect. He was not the better man today.
Lomachenko won. I had it like 8-4 Lomachenko.
That man got robbed.
So you scored. What was your final score on it then?
8-4 Lomachenko.
Hey, listen, man, ain't nothing sacred no more, man.
Is it a robbery or is this a close fight that if you know?
Nah, I thought it was
Yeah.
robbery.
Damn.
So Lomachenko won.
I think Loma got robbed, to be honest. I did think he won that fight.
It was a classic stick-up. It was a classic stick-up.
So I definitely think he won.
Yeah, it was a stick-up, man. It was a stick-up. What? Bow!
Two judges had a 7-5. Did you think it was close at all?
Not even that close. Nowhere near. Not for Devin.
A lot of people come to me and said, hey, Loma, you won this fight absolutely and 100%.
Lomachenko won that fight.
Yeah, thank you.
Won that fight.
We just talked. This is not staged. This is organic. It's real.
You can lie to yourself if you want to. but you can't lie to us. The tribalistic and linear views of the few don't represent the greater good and views of the many.
Yeah.
That Lomachenko was robbed. What do you think? I'm gonna go cry in the bathtub about it? You think I'm gonna go calling for a rematch? I know Devin won't give him one, but if anybody ever asks me what I thought about that fight on the night, tantamount to a daylight robbery. They robbed that guy in front of all of us.
And it's as simple as that. You can't change people's minds with your stories about how you went back and you rescored the fight and it was closer the second time you saw it, because fights don't get scored twice.
So can of fucking bullshit and stop trying to convince people it wasn't a robbery. That's exactly what it was, but it wasn't the first and it won't be the last. That was one among many.
Devin got a gift.
And he's gonna have to do something spectacular to put distance between himself and that robbery.
Haney, Loma, everyone's saying Loma got robbed. Did Loma get robbed?
Well, look, I was right there, front row, center, and I was watching the fight carefully. I literally had Lomachenko, and I love Haney.
Right.
He's one of the master boxers in the sport today. I had Lomachenko 8-4.
8-4.
Literally 8-4.
Wow, that big of a
7-5, you know, at worst. It was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. So you definitely think Loma won?
Hands down
on the Golden Boys scorecards.
Hands down, Loma won. I was
You were ringside.
Yeah. I was ringside, first row.
Devin's got to put distance between himself and that gift decision. He hopes to do that by moving up in weight and taking on the very dangerous Regis Prograis, according to Eddie Hearns, who not but a few fights ago used to promote Devin Haney.
What about Shakur Stevenson? What about Gervonta Davis?
Well, if Gervonta Davis wants a Devin Haney fight, all he has to do is get Al or Tom Brown to give Devin Haney a call. Until he does that, he must not really want that fight.
For all of Calvin Ford's talk.
Calvin Ford, Gervonta Davis's longtime trainer, he says that he'd like for Gervonta to fight Devin Haney, but he ain't the one that makes the fights.
So he can talk till he's blue in the face. Eddie Hearns said, Haney called me the other night.
We had a great conversation. He wants to fight Regis Prograis, you know? It's a tremendous fight. He wants to move up to 140. He wants a belt. And, you know, I said to him, you've got to be a little bit careful because part of his value right now is that he's undisputed. So when he moves up a division, that's the risk that he's taking from there. But he has identified Regis Prograis as the fight that he wants.
It's a dangerous fight.
I think it's an unbelievable fight. Regis loves the fight. Obviously, he's got Zorrilla first on June 17th. He's got to come, he's got to smash him to pieces, and he's got to call out Devin Haney. We've got to get them guys together. We've got to get them the right number for both guys, and I believe we can make that happen.
Don't confuse me saying Devin got a gift decision with me hating Devin Haney. I don't hate him.
I think that Canelo Alvarez got a gift decision in the first Golovkin fight, but I don't hate him. Over time, I've become one of his biggest supporters, but when I look back on that fight, I tell myself Canelo got a gift, and when I look back on this one, the same applies to Devin.
So he has to do what Canelo did, and what Canelo Alvarez did over time that won me over. Not only did he fight Gennady Golovkin for the second time, but he beat him.
Well, Devin's not giving Loma a rematch, so what else can he do?
Regis Prograis fight wouldn't be bad.
There's no sense in wasting any time on Gervonta Davis, who has yet to make Devin an offer. Calvin Ford, who trains Gervonta Davis, has gone on to say he has no issue with Gervonta Davis running it back with none other than Isaac Cruz, who I've been telling you he's going to fight again.
I'ma always say Pitbull, said Ford to ES News when asked who he wants to see Davis face next. Pitbull, better known as Isaac Cruz, gave Davis everything he could handle during their December of 2021 showdown.
What would be the point of fighting Isaac Cruz again? You beat him already. Devin Haney is your division's undisputed champion, on the cusp of moving up to 140 pounds. If you don't catch him before he leaves, the belts get redistributed and the process starts all over again. But if you challenge Devin and you beat Devin, you can win all of those belts in one fell swoop. It's up to you.
Gervonta could make history if he beats Devin.
Many are already favoring Gervonta Davis to beat Devin Haney based on how Devin looked with Vasyl Lomachenko, because most people feel that Vasyl Lomachenko beat him. So the window of opportunity is there for Gervonta, who's currently under house arrest, but his people aren't.
He'll be done with that whole house arrest thing in the fall or winter months. In the mean and between time, if Gervonta Davis really wants a Devin Haney fight, get either Tom Brown or Al Heyman to give Devin a call. It's as simple as that.
Gervonta Davis may have parted ways with Mayweather Promotions, and he hasn't gotten back with them as far as I know, though he still is exclusive to the Showtime platform. He doesn't box anywhere else, and many would say say that he is the A-side to Devin Haney.
Devin's a free agent. It's not like he has anybody that can bankroll a fight between him and Gervonta.
Not that it matters, because even if he did, Gervonta Davis wouldn't cross over to him. Devin, if he wants Gervonta, he'd have to go over there, to Gervonta's side of things, to his neck of the woods. He may not be with Mayweather Promotions anymore, but he still boxes exclusively on Showtime. So Showtime's got to get involved.
Yeah.
Showtime's got to do the deal.
Yeah.
They've got to pay for the fight, if Gervonta wants it.
Devin was in action just 2 weeks ago. He's not about to get into another fight straight away, so there's plenty of time there for Gervonta to intercept.
No excuses. Regis ain't about to fight Devin Haney. Regis is about to fight Danielito Zorrilla. I don't actually like Devin Haney's chances against Regis anywhere inside of 2 fights. That's saying if that fight happens 2 fights from now, within a calendar year, I would heavily favor Regis Prograis to beat Devin Haney. And not just beat him, knock him out. Maybe Devin Haney will get a slight power increase from moving up to 140 pounds, not having to cut the extra 5 to make 135, but he's never going to be a big puncher.
Nowhere near as big as Regis. Regis is one of the most destructive punchers at 140. That division ain't JV like 135. It's not a bunch of little kids running around up there.
I'm sure that Devin Haney would pump the brakes upon receiving an offer from Gervonta Davis if they so decided to send him one, but as of late, that hasn't happened.
They love to call Gervonta some kind of cash cow. The face of boxing, some say, but that's not just a meaningless title, you know.
It comes with responsibilities. It's on you to make the biggest fights. You want to have things your way, and you seem to be exclusive to Showtime, so when are you going to get them involved? If you want this guy. Do you want this guy?
If you don't, what's he supposed to do? Sit around waiting for a phone call or proceed with his career?
Fights don't get made overnight, and fights don't make themselves. You have to put the effort forth, and if you're not going to, then it's only right for Devin to simply move on.
Yeah.
Move on to the next weight class and move on to the next fight.
What the fuck is he supposed to do?
If he's serious about fighting Regis Prograis, then of course I'm going to support it. I'm a boxing fan first, after all.
It's the way it is.